Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is May 22nd, and we're going down the roads to your questions. And they're kind of all over the place on this one. There's just a pretty good cross-section of questions today, so there's no real theme. On to our first question. Why are the cost estimates for the Golden Dome project so different? I've seen them as low as 10 billion and as high as hundreds of billions. What gives? Nobody really knows what it's supposed to do yet. It doesn't have well-defined specs, so they don't know how much it'll cost. And when you're talking about something that's ill-defined in the military, go with the highest estimate and then add about 30%. The latest expectation that I saw on this was $175 billion. There's a movie called The Pentagon Wars. It's satire and over the top, but that's how I picture this going. Why are billionaires so concerned with birth rates? It's so creepy and weird. My guess is it's less creepy and weird and more evil. Billionaires are rich people. In some way, they're involved in finance and the markets. Markets run on estimates. And the goal for every company is always more. They want to beat LY, last year's numbers. So if you have a decline in population, you have a decline in consumers. If you have a decline in consumers, you have a decline in revenue. And then you don't beat LY. They're trying to get infinite growth in a finite system. And then the other side of it is that there are some that would just like to see higher birth rates in a specific demographic. What's the difference between consumer confidence and consumer sentiment? Consumer confidence is put out by the Conference Board. Consumer sentiment comes from the University of Michigan. They roughly measure the same thing, but they have different methodologies. One has a bigger sample size, and one has a more in-depth kind of survey that they do. As far as which one's better, they tend to be pretty much the same. I don't think either methodology is inherently better. Right now, they're both horrible and well beyond the normal range that precedes recession. Did you really climb the Alps, or was Dana just giving a random example? I didn't climb all of the Alps, but yes, I've climbed the Alps. I was stationed in Europe at the time, and it was a very long time ago. As a bit of extra information, I was not part of the medical team on Air Force One. Military question. I feel like this is going to be something I should know, but what is plating the roads? I heard some people talk about them doing it for the parade here in DC. Okay, so don't feel bad. I had to ask one of the Marine vets what this was, and even they didn't understand initially. But plating the roads is they're going to put metal plates down to protect the roads from the damage that the tanks can do. It's not really common knowledge because, to quote the Marine, it doesn't get done often because nobody's this dumb. And you can add the F word about every other word in this. You regularly mention how markets hate uncertainty, and I was wondering if you could take a few minutes and unpack that idea. Why do markets hate it, and why do they react or don't react to it? Okay, so financial markets run on estimates. Think about it like you as an individual, you want to get an apartment or apply for credit of some kind or a house. And you have to bring in all of your financials to kind of prove what you make, what you spend, so that they can decide if you're a good risk and if you're going to be able to afford this in the future. And they do it based on kind of the assumption that what you made is good. You're going to make at least this or more in the future. And that's how they're going to decide. So companies work the same way. And they run off the estimates of how the previous financials have gone. So if you've had 3 good years and you've beaten LY numbers all the way through and you're having this steady trend of things going, then that's how they'll start making their decisions. And if somebody comes along and decides to have a tariff tantrum and it throws all of your numbers off and it causes that uncertainty that you can't tell where you're going to be at the end of this year. You can't tell if you'll even make last year's numbers, if you're going to do better than last year's numbers. Everything is just uncertain. So any plans you were making based on the estimates that you had put together, you can't make anymore. And so let's say Walmart was going to open another company or open another store. They may hold off on that because nothing is going the way they planned. And they don't have any control over it either. It's just not going to work. So they'll hold off on doing things. And that's the reaction. And then it also has a chain reaction where if they were going to open a new store, everybody that was involved in that planning now doesn't have that. So the construction company that was going to run it or book time or needed equipment, none of that is getting done now. So it creates all of this uncertainty. And it follows a chain. So, and when these numbers change, it changes LY. And that's what they're really looking at. Okay, we've now realized that everybody on the team watches or is familiar with Star Trek. When you first started, I know you said you were starting to watch some. Any new favorites? I definitely like Lower Decks. I started watching that with my older kids. I want to be a green space pirate, but I haven't had a chance to watch a lot. And I am learning how to play tridimensional chess. This isn't a question, just some information that adds to a recent question about the Canadian budget. Hoping you can pass this on to the American expat in Canada. Wondering about the budget, or lack thereof. The last time this happened was actually in 2020 during COVID. Our federal fiscal year runs from April 1st to March 31st. So the budget was supposed to be tabled, just as COVID hit, which threw all the financial predictions out the window. Instead, the government issued a series of economic updates throughout the year. Normally, there is one issued in the fall. Carney has now said he'll release a budget in the fall, but he's still likely to release 1 or 2 economic updates before then, which outline and follow his economic and social priorities. TLDR, Carney isn't releasing a budget until the fall, so he can be more responsive as situations unfold. He's expecting volatility. You probably already knew this, but in the British parliamentary system, a lot of words mean the opposite of what they do in the U.S. Legislation being tabled means it's being introduced, not withdrawn. Oh, I've learned a lot of terms that they don't mean the same thing, like coalition has a whole different and very serious meaning up there apparently. Do you think Biden's diagnosis is real? Yes. I'd also point out that he said he had cancer in 22 or 23, and the media said it wasn't really what he meant. They went on this whole thing. I don't know if that means anything, but I find it interesting. I'm reading a bunch of articles about the economy, and some say a recession is happening, some say one is coming, and some say there's no recession on the way. What am I supposed to make of that? That there's a lot of uncertainty. That uncertainty makes everyone uncertain of exactly what's happening. A lot of the indicators that we follow, all of those leading indicators are flashing red, saying that there's one coming. It's predicting that a recession is coming or that we're already in one. However, the economy runs on the faith of people, and some could decide to barrel through and just keep going, even though there could be an economic downturn. A good example of that is the stock market itself. It's way overvalued, and people know it's way overvalued, but they just keep buying. So it keeps going up. Eventually, somebody will be left holding the bag. I would look at the consumer sentiment and consumer confidence and follow those numbers. And based on those, it doesn't look like the average person is going to just barrel through and keep going. It's just a lot of uncertainty. Belle, give Dee a hug for me. I never watch her show. It's nothing personal. I just like to look at somebody when they talk. I tuned into her last episode because I was bored. I live in Grinnell, Kansas. I would not have known. I changed my batteries in my NOAA weather alert because of her. Just say thank you. They got hit pretty bad tornadoes there. Just so you know, we put out extreme weather alerts on the interstates. So, there you go. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.